This is Geometry Lesson 1-1, Part B of the video. So we're going to get into some 3D drawing now, isometric and orthographic drawing. So an isometric drawing, really what it shows is a corner view of a three-dimensional figure. Make sure you get that blank filled in. It allows you to see the front, or the top, the front, and the side of a figure all at the same time. And by the side, they are usually referring to as the right side of the figure. You can see an example of an isometric drawing over there to the right. You can see the top side of it, which is I'm going to put in green. You can see the front side of it, which is going to be the side that's on the left. And you can also see the right side, which is going to be over here in red. Basically, to draw an isometric drawing, you need isometric dot paper, like that paper to the right. The simple drawing of a file cabinet to the right is an isometric drawing. So we're going to draw an isometric drawing of this cube figure below. When I draw an isometric drawing, I make sure I have my dot paper. You should all have dot paper in your notes. And then I typically start with the top shape. So up here I have the top shape. It's a yellow cube. And if you look at that, I'm going to trace the edges. I have those two edges with those two that make the top. I have my front and I have my right. And so those are all those edges that I just traced in red are going to be the edges that we're going to draw in our isometric dot paper. So I'm going to start with this top part right there. I'm not going to start all the way over on the edge because you can see there's something to the left of it. So maybe I'll start about right here. Now there's a few ways you can go about doing this. I'm going to say that 2 dots equal 1 line in there. So here I have 2 dots. That's that top edge I've just done. And now I'm going to go down and do this next edge. It's going to go like this. There's not 90-degree angles. There are no 90-degree angles in isometric dot paper. So because you're looking at something from an angle, and so it can look a little bit odd at times when you're starting off. I'm going to finish that top by making 2 more lines, just like that. So once I get the top of my shape done, I like to do the next level as I think about. And so those are those vertical lines going down from the top. So from these 3 corners, I'm going to draw down 3 vertical lines. I have 1, 2, 3. And you can see the beginning of a cube starting. I drew some of these lines a little bit long, so I'm just going to fix them a tiny bit. There we go. Then your cube finishes with those 2 lines in the bottom. So there is your top isometric dot paper cube. Next, I usually just go directly down. So if you look directly down from this far left line is another blue cube. And if you look, that blue cube doesn't have that many lines. It actually only has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of it that you can see. So we're going to draw those in. So I'm going to work from the left side now to the right. I'm going to take this line and draw it in. It's going to go directly below that far left line. And then from that, I'm going to draw down this bottom of that cube. I'll go over 2 dots. And then I'm going to connect it up back with the rest. So there's that blue cube. That's all you can see of the blue cube. Now this green cube is a little bit more. Let's trace it. It's got these 2 lines right there that are connected. Then you can go down and connect all of those. So that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines we're going to draw now. So there's a few ways you can go about this one. I like to start by drawing the top of the cube if I can see it. So I'm going to draw those 3 lines in there. So I'm going to start with this one that is the closest to the viewer. It's going to follow the line at the top of the blue cube and the bottom of the yellow. And then I'm going to connect that over just like that and connect it back. And now I've drawn the top of the green cube. I'm going to draw in my 2 vertical lines that I need. 1, 2, and then I'm going to close them off to finish the cube. There's your isometric drawing. Now they can get really complicated at times, but that's your basic way of how to do one. So what I'd like you to do now is to pause the video and do your very best to draw this next one of these, the stack of cubes. So pause the video now and try your very best to draw these ones. My advice, either start from the top down or from the left to the right. As you can see, I just finished my top cube. It's in red there. So if you have a question, take a look at that one, and then I'm going to work on my next one. There's my second cube, so it's getting to look like the original shape. I'm gonna pause the video again and work on my next one. And there you have it. There's my final drawing of this cube structure. So that's isometric drawing. The next topic we have to talk about is orthographic drawing. So your first blank is going to be orthographic drawing. And orthographic drawing shows three separate views of a three-dimensional figure. It shows the top, the front, and the right. So once again, it shows the top, the front, and the right, but each one of these is actually going to be their own drawing. An orthographic drawing can take more time to analyze, but provides unique information about the structure. Typically, we go from an isometric to an orthographic drawing. So here you can see we have an isometric drawing over here on the left for problem 4, and then what we're going to do is we're going to draw it orthographically. So I typically write labels. I'm going to have a top, I'm going to have a front, and I'm going to have a right side. So we pick one to start with, and maybe we'll pick with the top view. So you want to think, if I'm standing above this figure, what can I see? So on the top, I can see this square right here, and then I'm going to be able to see this 3-square structure over there. And so when we draw those, we can't tell that this first one that I shaded in, that's higher up. So all we do is we can tell that it's just separate, and so we just give it a square. Like, oh, sorry, I'm not gonna have enough space to do that. We just give it a square. So maybe down here. But then we know that that square is connected to those 3, and so we draw in those 3. Now, because in the original drawing, all 3 of those squares are connected, when we draw them, we're just going to draw the outline of what those 3 squares are. So it's going to go up 2 squares, over 1 square, down 1 square, and then over 1 square, just like that. So when we're looking at the top, we can't necessarily tell that these 3 squares and the 1 square, that what the height difference is, but we know that there's a height difference between those. Next, we draw the front. So you want to say, if I'm looking at it from the front, I'm going to see this, but the only other side I'm going to see is this one right there. And if you're standing in the front and you're looking at those, they're actually going to be perfectly lined up, but once again, we're not going to be able to see the depth. So the front, you're going to have these 2 square high structure, but you're also going to have this 1 square high structure to the right of it. And you know that they're not connected, but you don't know what's how far away they are from each other. Next, if we look at the right, we're once again going to have a 2 square structure. We're going to have this little 1 square structure. It's connected to it. And then if you look way back here, it's kind of hard to see. You would actually have another 1 square structure way back there. And since all 3 of those shapes are at different depths on the picture, you're going to separate those 3 out. So that is an orthographic drawing. It helps to start with an isometric drawing in order to do an orthographic drawing. My advice, when you draw this, is to think about where your perspective is when you're standing and you're looking at the figure. What can you see? I recommend kind of shading in what you can see in the original picture so you can do your drawing on your own. So what I'd like you to do now is move on to this next problem in our notes and try the orthographic drawing for this one. Pause the video and I'll draw the top part of your orthographic drawing. Here you can see the shaded in 3 pieces that make up the top and how I drew them in. I've got 2 squares of 1 and a square of 2 by 1. So now I would like you to do the front orthographic drawing. Here you can see the front orthographic drawing, what that looks like. You've got a 1 with a 2 above it and then a block of a 2 by 2 to the right of it. So pause the video now and do your right orthographic drawing. And there you can see what the right orthographic drawing looks like. This was our last problem in your notes, but remember to look through your summary. Our objective for this lesson was to make nets and drawings of 3-dimensional figures and discuss those. We've done nets and then drawings of 3-dimensional figures. We've done orthographic and isometric drawings.